how to level up your basing game for your Rohan warriors. In the last video I showed you how I stripped and painted all of these old Rohan miniatures. Today I'm going to be showing you all different bases. Stand by for that Eomer one at the end. Got the Theoden one coming up with him stamping on a horse, one of them being impaled, all sorts of things, as well as just the simple stuff like having grass and shields and all sorts of detritus of war. So 9 different bases coming up. Let's get into it.
Next up we are going to sort out the bases. So I've got some PVA glue here. I'm going to avoid the sides, so don't want to do any of the rim. Doesn't matter if we get some on it because we can wipe it off. Trying to avoid any of the rest of it. Putting a decent amount on, not smothering it, but leaving it all covered like that. Get a bit on the boot, doesn't matter. A bit quicker with this with the bigger bases and the horses because you've got little stick legs to avoid, whereas with the warrior models you've got a lot more you need to be avoiding. If you do get any glue on there, you can just simply wipe your finger around like that. So I'm going to do that with the rest of them. Okay, so I've got a nice bright grass mix here. This is a static grass. I'm going to chuck all of this into my static grass applicator for a nice lush Rohan. Obviously you can do this with whatever flock that you want, but doing this on a piece of card, and that way I can just easily recycle any the mountains of flock that's not going to end up stuck down. Just going to do a pass over it like this, and I'm going to tip them up slightly, which is another good reason to have the card there like that. Have it up at this angle, and up here like this, and then some of them do it whatever angle you can, being careful not to touch the thing yourself because it really hurts. It can be the case that you can just pick up a clump of it and just, for the more difficult areas, just sprinkle it in there as best you can. And then, you see there's not, where we haven't glued the edge, there's not a lot there, and you can just push up from the edge, so any that's kind of poking out to the side goes more up than out. Like that. You can always come back and correcting them later. So tap off the excess and then just push up the sides like that. There you go. So I'm gonna sort out the rest of these and do about 30 odd more. Yay! Here's another option if you're using a static grass applicator. To do them one at a time like this. So same thing applies. I'm going to chuck a load of glue onto the base and wipe off any excess there is. I'm going to take it and put it on. I'm going to place our model there. Do not touch the grill. And then we're going to take pinches of this and hold it close with the static grass applicator on. And it will have the same effect of making the strands go vertical as they're dropped. So you can just keep dropping pinches like this until your base is covered. Turn it off, turn it upside down, tap off the excess, push up the edges, and you are done. Whether it's quicker or not, I don't know, but it's just another way of doing it. So let's start off something very basic. So, this is a base that we've got here. We've got a kind of rock on it already, but let's say you want to make the ground a bit more rocky. Well, very simply, you can just take the base that we've made already, and I've got some little stones in a bag here, which I'm failing to open. 2, 3, 4 that we like. Get some super glue. So this can simply be a case of just squeezing a bit of glue onto your base and saying, right, I'm going to put that stone, just a pile of 3 stones maybe, and you can drip some super glue over the top as well, let that soak in, and also on that base just looks a little bit more interesting. It's not absolutely game changing, it's just a little bit more interesting. Another thing you can have is these tuft things. Now some of these tufts are self-adhesive, these ones are not, unfortunately, so you can just get these and just stick them down. Or what you can do, which I'll show you here, if you get a nice bright colour like this purple. I bring this up to the camera. So let's do this one in the corner here. If I just take this purple and just brush across it like that. There's a bit of colour in these, but it just makes it look like it's got a bit more to it. So, not coming up on the camera as well as it might, but... And what you can do is, if there isn't a bare patch on this, but if there was a bare patch, you could say, well, I want to cover that up. And take your thing, and then just press it down there. Game changing, but it is a nice bit of colour for it. So let's do that with a bunch of them. So I mentioned right at the start about not worrying about broken hooves and stuff, and I'm going to show you why. So we've got King Theoden's horse, Snowmane, I think, and there's a little hoof missing there. Now I could make one out of green stuff or something or other to have that, but to be honest, this model I don't really understand. Even with that on there, I'm not really sure how it's supposed to go. Like, it's just, is it just supposed to balance on one leg like that and be in the air? Either way, it's not going to get mounted very well. So I'm doing something rather special with this. Start off with how we would normally start it off, as with the other bases, so they match. It's fun. So I've taken a Mordor Orc model, which I've just here. I just got a drill bit and I just slowly drilled into his chest like I'm from Saw. Just slowly drilled into his chest, put some blood for the blood god in there, and he is going to be laying on the floor like that. And he's going to be serving two purposes. Firstly, he's going to be looking all cool and dead and stuff, but secondly, he's actually going to provide a support for this hoof to go in. The idea is that the hoof is actually fully caved in his chest because it's fun. So him there like that, the hoof going in there like that, and all of a sudden you have something which could actually work and be stable rather than the balance on one leg thing that the model's supposed to do. Chuck a load of super glue down and have him there. And then we've got this to go like that, I reckon. So obviously we've got a few different contact points here. So we've got inside of the chest cavity, which is just fun. We've got there, and then we've got the edge of here like that. So hopefully those combined, a bit more glue under the model itself, will provide something really, really fun. That's what it's going to look like. Which is just really fun. Unless you're the orc that's underneath and being completely destroyed. Let's do something a lot more interesting than that. So this horse here looks absolutely fine. If you look closely though, this leg here doesn't actually go all the way to the ground, which, as I said earlier, it's not going to matter too much because, you know, once that's down on the table, hi Jazz, that's not going to make any difference whatsoever. But when we've got any that have got a leg that's a little bit too high, this is where our old models are going to come into it. So I've gone through and I've found as many painted, like Uruks and Mordor orcs is mainly what I've gone for. And I've gone for ones that are painted and broken. And so let me show you what we can do with this. So we've got this Mordor orc. It's painted okay. You know, it's just got some colours chucked on it, not by myself, but by someone. Weapon has snapped off. No base, not that that's a real issue. But what we can do, I'm gonna snip off the, and just how he's got his hand there, or his arm there, whatever, he could quite just as easily be laying down. So any time that there's a leg that's up or something, we can, depending on how broken it is and how much space there is, we can actually get a model trapped underneath or something as if it's been trampled on. The rider as well. So we've got this rider here. And that's the sort of thing that we're kind of going for. Glue down in a couple of places. And get him stuck there. Like that. That's another one done. But let's try and create something even more dynamic than that. So there are a few different Uruk. So this one is what I call the running man Uruk. Been painted, he's lost his weapon, so he's a bit broken. He's not terrible by any means, but this is how he's supposed to be. But if we put him onto his back foot like that, then all of a sudden he looks like he's flailing backwards. So if we can find a particularly good charging model here, this is one where there's like a bit of path there, so that'll help with getting a good connection with the glue. So if that Uruk there, like that, on its back foot, absolutely looks like it's been charged into and it's flailing backwards. So not the end of the world either. So just down there like that, and we'll have his foot like this. That's kind of what it's going to look like. There's a really fun idea that can be nice and dynamic. So I've got a horse that's got a whole bunch of space off to the side here, and I'm going to choose one of the rider models here. That's an archer, but he's obviously just loosed his arrow, so he would be there like that. I'm going to take this model here that's painted okay. We're going to start by losing the bar here. He is going to be dead down there like that. But how did he die? Well, let me show you. Well, he got shot by this guy's arrow. So what I'm going to do here, I've got a drawing pin. And what's great about drawing pins is they've got this nice big thumb pad for you to press. So let's say he got shot in the neck. So let's just press this down on the neck and then do a drilling type action. Doesn't take a lot for it to then start sticking. You can get snippy pliers. That can fly across wherever it wants to, and then we can get a little super glue, and then we can put it back in the hole that we just drilled. So that's going to end up looking like that. Put some brown paint on it to make it look more like an arrow than fun. He shot him an arrow and he's just riding on past him. That's just another fun little dynamic idea. Okay, let's go for something more adventurous. So I have this one that's painted and I had to replace the top of the spear here. So now I'm going to undo all my hard work here. So a couple of changes we're going to make. So to start with, I'm just going to snip along here to, not too bad. Very carefully snip off this hand here. And all we're going to do with this hand is just a rotation. We're going to move it to be horizontal. An Uruk here, which has been painted to an average standard. It's got a drill bit here that's just a few mils. I'm going to choose a point in the centre of his chest, and I'm just going to go backwards and forwards and try and make a hole here. I gave in and used the drill. Dance for me! Right, a few very ambitious things need to happen now with some super glue. We're going to glue our spear back on. So after a bit of balancing, I did get it to stick, and then I've taken some liquid green stuff and just painted that around the joint just so that's all a bit stronger. And now this can come together. So we have our Uruk, who's got a hole through the middle of him. We can just super glue him there, like that, and decide how far along he wants to be. I mean, he probably doesn't want to be anywhere near any of it, but you know, that choice has been removed from him. Put some super glue. Not for the Uruk, obviously. He's having a bad day. We've got some blood for the blood god here, and we're going to put that all around there, which will cover up where it was drilled, and then finally it's just a bit of paint where we snipped off there and there, just to finish it off, but that's another one done. So I had a lot of fun making this guy with a ginormous spear. It was way more effort than the joke was worth, but yeah, we're going to undo this now because I've got a better idea. Now these spears, they can snap so easily, and I've spent a lot of time trying to mend a whole bunch of them, but I'm going to do something else instead. So just like with the last one I did, I'm going to detach this spear bit from, and then we're going to snip this off at the elbow, and this only needs a small tweak, but it's an important tweak. Rather than trying to add something to this spear, we're going to remove it entirely, so it's just going to be a fist that he's holding. So nothing complicated with the arm, it's just going to be sticking it back on. So he did have it down by his side, can have it so that he's holding it up a lot higher. What I really want is for it to look like he's just thrown his spear. Now what's going to be happening with this, rather than being impaled on the spear of someone that's riding, he is going to be having a throwing spear lodged within him, in his chest, for clarity. We can use the bit of, as I've done with a number of the throwing spears, so I'm going to use this is a chunky paper clip, something like that long. Load this up with super glue, leave that there like that. We can always trim that down if we need to. More blood for the blood god on the blood bit, sort out the hand, and then stick this guy down somewhere. Just a bit of touch up with the paint, but that's what this one is going to look like. So it doesn't have to all be death and destruction, although, you know, it's fun. So what I've done is I've taken just some shields and some weapons and things, and just having them on the ground underneath can look pretty cool. A shield here, glue down there, and then just get that where we want it, just press down. And just the fact that running over a shield just feels more like they're part of a battle. So I've got a broken pike here, lay some glue down and then press that into it, just to add a little element more. So I'm going to stick a few of those down in a few places. Some other weapons, shields, you know, whatever feels right, because it just adds a little element of something or other to it. So another really simple thing to do, just to add some extra detail. This is a Sterling Technical Mud. So with the Sterling Technical Mud, it's basically just like paste. So let's get a brush, get some on, and then quite simply what you can do is just paint some patches into the ground over the grass. You do some under the feet, you can do some on the legs, so it looks so muddy, but just adds a little bit of if you've got shields or whatever down already, then you can put it around that. The difference between that and that, which I think is interesting enough to put on a few of them should you want to. And the other option with things is you get these are self-adhesive grass tufts, and you can just choose somewhere and then just add something in as just an extra. On to our final and the most interesting one. The final base I'm going to be doing is for Eomer, Marshal of the Riddermark, and it feels like he should have the most interesting one of all. So I'm trying something quite adventurous this, using this poor Uruk here. And I'm choosing this one because he's got a weapon that snapped off, but he's also fairly well painted. It's worthy of Eomer's base. So snip him off of here. First thing we're going to do now is cut his head off. So gonna try and do this as neatly as possible. So under the helmet there. Okay, with this drawing pin we're going to make 2 holes. So the first hole is going to be in his neck, or where, as if we are shoving this pin down his throat. Essentially just using this as a drill. That's probably deep enough. And then the second one, and this is going to be fiddly, and I really don't want to shove a drawing pin into my finger or thumb in here. It doesn't have to be a massive hole, but it does have to be a hole, given the experiments that I've done with this. So we have a small hole in each. Take some of this plastic wire stuff. Can't remember what this is called. Fancy me calling it plastic wire stuff. And we just need a short length, that's probably about 3/4 of an inch. So a bit of super glue going down to that hole there, and we put one end of this into there, and a bit of super glue like that, and then putting that on there. Now that may be too long, and if it is then I'll adjust, but I quite like the idea of it being really long, so I'm going to leave that to dry now. 2 of my nemesis join forces. We have cling film and we have scissors. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm not very good at using scissors. So I'm going to start with a decent sized, say inch square. Okay. I guess what we're really doing is creating a kind of star shape. So if you can see that, it's a cross shaped that way. Put a little hole in the centre. I'll take our Uruk with his floaty head and pass his floaty head through the hole. It's fiddly, hopefully going to be worth it. Right, next I've got my UV resin, and I'm going to just try and put a little drip just in the centre of that, like that. Hopefully this is then going to act as glue. I'm going to take our bits here and we're going to twist them upwards. Hopefully get 4 individual bits. Right, with that stuck there like that, we'll try and fold this all, be more on an upward trend, maybe into a spike. So that is now set as if it's like a solid plastic, so let's have some fun. It's got my Slaughter Red contrast paint, which is surely going to be the best one. Just really hope like it ends up looking how I've got it in my head pictured. Okay, yeah, almost put a drip. I mean, it looks pretty horrific, I think. Whether it looks like what I want it to look like. And the answer is quite possibly yes. I think it's pretty clear what's gone on there, so cool. We'll give that a minute to dry, then I'll stick it to the base. Stick this poor Uruk down. Annoyingly, this Eomer model was already thoroughly glued to this base when I received it. Just going to clear a bit of this grass here. A lot of glue down there at him. Give the glue a couple of seconds to take hold, and then we'll just prop it up. So here we have various different stuff happening to lots of poor different Uruks, and then some other bases which are just got some foliage or stuff on. Now the idea is here that the display board that I'm going to make is going to have some models right in the thick of the fight and some yet to arrive. So that's why I've split them up as I have.
And here they are on the board. You've seen all the different bases as we've gone through. There's the Eomer one front and centre, Theoden stamping on one there, one of them impaled, and all sorts of other disgusting things going on. And just lots of fun and just lots of pretty stuff as well. So if you like this, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, leave any comments, and if you think you know someone who might like this video too, then give it a share.